Cool. Is it a video one? Is it? Is it like
Yeah, if possible.
Yeah.
Because you were late coming on, I started making my dinner.
Let me just get. I'll just get a stand then. I'll just pop the phone in the stand.
Okay.
That's it.
Excellent. So how's things been with yourself anyway during COVID?
Yeah, it's been, I've managed to keep busy. I've sort of like done a lot of recording and put things out, and and I decided to go down that route instead of the sort of I did some live streaming to start with, when lockdown first happened, and but then just sort of went into the recording side of things, and yeah, it's not been too bad. I live up on the Welsh border near Hay-on-Wye.
Oh, right.
I'm just there, and it's as it's like pretty much out the way. So it's not been too bad around here, with COVID. But then you got the usual lockdown sort of thing we've all been dealing with, and it's all that and the lack of gigs and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, brilliant. Starting at the beginning, what was your first love, and what music did you grow up listening to?
First love was when I was really young. My brother bought me a Queen flash single in 1980 when I was, what would I have been, 6 or something. And from that single, I sort of like discovered other Queen albums. Got Night at the Opera and all that kind of stuff. So that was my first love was Queen when I was a little kid. And it's still great stuff. If you listen to Sheer Heart Attack or Night at the Opera, they're amazing albums. And then sort of gradually got into different styles of music from there. As the years went by, I've discovered Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and all that sort of stuff. And then LA rock when I was a kid in the mid 80s. Aerosmith were big, and Van Halen and all that sort of stuff. So I was listening to lots of stuff at the same time. I was listening to sort of like Hendrix, but Aerosmith, and sort of like Son House and Motley Crue, all that kind of So it was just it was just a lot of different sort of music around then. And but Back to the Future was a film when I was 10 that got me into playing guitar. That was just sort of like the film. I saw that film, and before then I wanted to play saxophone. I'd heard Latest Trick on Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms, and I wanted to play sax. And then saw Back to the Future and sort of, no, I want to go down the guitar route.
Yeah, it's an amazing scene. I never you see him go on stage.
Yeah.
And, to be honest, like I'm a massive Kiss fan. And I remember that scene in Back to the Future, and I was like, oh, look at that, man. I want to learn to play guitar, but I came about and decided to try and follow in the footsteps of Gene Simmons. So I just wanted to be a bassist then afterward. But it was
great. I grew up listening to Kiss, like Animalize, a video. I wore that video out.
Yeah,
it's a great show. That one.
Kiss Exposed was my favorite. Oh,
which was that?
Kiss Exposed.
Oh right,
yeah. It's you got certain videos on that, and because it's such a fun documentary style thing, it's
I remember that coming out. I was down. Where was I? I was in Birmingham as a kid, because that was around Crazy Nights era, wasn't it? Was that Crazy Nights?
87, I think. Yeah, it was Crazy Nights came out just after it. Yeah, it was about the same time. Yeah.
I remember going down to Birmingham when I was a kid, and I bought a picture disc, a Motley Crue one. I'd only be about, what would I be then, sort of like 14. And I got it back home, put this picture disc on. It was an interview, and it was Marillion. It was a misprint. It was a Motley Crue picture, but with Marillion on the sound.
Have you still got it?
I didn't. No, I didn't. Stupidly, I sold all my vinyl back in mid 90s. I'd got all my Queen albums, and I got it all again on CD.
Yeah.
And then a guy I worked with just bought the lot off me. Big mistake.
Yeah, definitely with that. So I bet that's worth thousands and thousands and thousands.
It's
now.
weird, a misprint like that,
Yeah,
strange, yeah.
it's yeah, I've never been a big love of CDs. I've always been a vinyl person.
Yeah,
And growing up for me in South Wales, it was a case of you would go to like record fairs,
yeah,
save up as much money as you could. I was in my teens then, so I used to do like a paper round of all my money for the next record fair, and then go to that, because that was amazing. Some of the things you could pick up. But
yeah. It was different then, back in those days. I remember it was really special because even in about 95, I remember I was in a record shop in Hereford, just sort of like not far from here, and bumped into this guy because I was browsing through the Zappa. I'm a big Zappa fan, so I was browsing through the Zappa collection, and this guy sort of comes over to me and he said, "Oh, you're into Zappa?" And I said, "Yeah," and he said, "Well, sort of like, gave me his address." He said, "Pop around. I've got loads of sort of rare stuff." And went around to his place and got like Steve Vai's flexible leftovers that hadn't been released at the time, and there was all sort of like the GIT stuff I did, and then the early stuff he did with Zappa. It was amazing. But those things you just couldn't get them now. If you go online, it's probably on YouTube. You'll find it. But back in those days, those were really special things, weren't they? Because you just couldn't get them.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And the other thing which I loved about record fairs is that you could go to one stall and they would have tapes after tapes of concerts.
Yeah.
And like bootleg concerts, and that is like some of the ones which I remember picking up was Kiss live in Chicago, doing the Animalized tour.
Yeah.
And you were constantly going there, and you were hoping that you could pick it up on vinyl, but if not, it was the tape. And I remember going around, my headphones on, doing my paper round, listening to these concerts. Like, And talking about what you said about vinyl with interviews on, I've got about 5 or 6. I think I've got 2 with Chris Tetley.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if he was a big interviewer. In the 80s, and you would always have like the picture disc with a picture of Kiss, and the Chris Tetley interviews.
Yeah. It's brilliant era, that.
Yeah. I think now I keep looking out for record fairs, and I know there's places which do it. So I can't wait to go back and get on to the old.
Talking of vinyl, I got my test prints for the album a few weeks back, and I haven't got a deck. I haven't got a deck anymore. So there was a guy who lives about 5 miles, kind of over in a place called Kingston, and I knew of a guy called Dougie, and years ago I remember going to his house, and he used to have sort of like systems set up, and so I gave him a call and said, "Can I come and try it out on your system and just check the test prints?" And I couldn't believe it, because he got like about a 20 grand system, and the detail in the vinyl. Because I've been listening to the reference, I've been getting loads of stuff back and forth from from the mastering place, and from when the mixes are done. I've got good monitors, decent Yamaha monitors that pick everything up. But the detail in the vinyl, there was more detail through his system than I heard, which is mad. I wouldn't have thought the vinyl could contain that much information, can hold all that kind of high-end detail.
Yeah. Oh God, that's my food going on. With the album, before we go on to that, is it coming out on vinyl?
Yeah, it's the first thing I've had done on vinyl. This is the only thing I've had done. So that's due to be delivered end of July, sort of like the 3rd week of July. So it's plenty of time for the pre-orders.
Yeah, that's one thing which I'm going to be doing now. Probably on Tuesday, we'll be doing my pre-orders. So I will be pre-ordering the album on Tuesday, definitely.
Fantastic.
I've been listening to it the last week, and it's an amazing album.
Do you like it, man? Did you get a copy of the full album?
Yeah, Peter sent me a link with the full album.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to it, and it's brilliant. The opening song, in my head, just came Quentin Tarantino.
Right, yeah. It's got that slightly sort of from Dusk Till Dawn, like Tito and Tarantula, that band that play on them. It's got that kind of vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, it's brilliant. I'm like, straight away from that, I'm like, oh my God, this is a quality album. And I've been, I haven't done my review yet, but I have been listening, and it's a top album.
Wicked, nice one, man.
Yeah, brilliant. Talking about the album, when did you start writing for it?
It would have been early 2019. Most of it was written before, in the first sort of half, the first quarter, I expect it was done. Because the plan was to go in the back end of 2019 into Brighton Electric Studios. Yeah. That was the original plan. I went down there, and we recorded with the band I gig with sometimes, and it just didn't have the right vibe. I wanted something heavier and something more tighter production. And the producer guy, Paul Wynn, who came with me to Rockfield later, he was on the same page. He said, it's just not. I wanted to go into the studio and have a jump up in production and just make the whole thing really good and better, and it wasn't. So I scrapped that, and I was out in Poland at the back end of 2019, and I bumped into a guy called Darby Todd, who was playing at a festival. He was playing with Dudley Taft, and we got chatting because we knew each other from social media, sort of. We'd sort of seen, he knew who I was and I knew who he was. So we got chatting, and we spent about an hour and a half sort of chatting. And at the end of it, he said, "Look, if you need anyone for a record to record, to do stuff, give me a shout." So when I got these songs back from the first session, I was like, right, I need to do this right. I want to get Rockfield, I want to get Derby, and I want to get the best possible thing I can, musicians and studio situation I can get. So I gave Derby a bell, and he said, yeah, it's up for it. And there's a guy called, a best mate of his called Dave Marks, who played, amazing bass player. And we got Rockfield booked up for, that was in February 2020. So yeah, it was, it was written early 2019, but we actually tracked it early 2020.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant album. Like I say, the opening song, it just catapults you into a Tarantino film, and it's like,
yeah. Well, I wanted something that was blues-ish, but I wanted a mix between that and rock. I wanted the rock production.
Yeah.
It's in your face and just and it's tight, it's modern sounding, but still have the sort of slide in there. So it's very easy with the slide thing to sort of sound retro and all that. I didn't want a retro sounding album. I wanted it more like a modern album with slide on.
Oh, you can hear the slide, coming down there, and it's like when you're listening to the album, it does give you that hard rock sound, with like a bluesy sort of feel to it, and you can hear the slides in it it is brilliant. It's a brilliant album. The new single "Waiting for Your Love" is released on May the 21st. With the album full with great songs, what made you choose that song as your first single?
Well, I think that one's my favorite on the album. It kind of, with my live set, a lot of what I do is kind of boogie based, it's like John Lee Hooker on steroids kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that single or that track seemed to be the sort of the middle between the two ends, because you've got on Fire, which is super a heavy track, and then you got some sort of lighter tracks, and that one seemed to be the kind of the central one that was kind of it's bluesy but it's heavy. It's got a good chorus, and it just seemed to sort of be the central sort of track in the album to me.
Yeah, it's a top song, but the whole album, all the songs on the album could quite easily be your first single. It's that solid of an album.
Wicked. I'm glad you like it, man. You're the first person I've spoken to about the album, really. And
it's like I say, the only thing about about what I'm doing now is that it's costing me a fortune with
Right.
pre-orders and things like that, because I'm putting on, I go to do my review and I put it on, I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant. I need this on vinyl. So straight away I pre-order it. And then the next one, and I'm like, oh God, this is brilliant. I got to pre-order it. And that's what I said. It's just costing me a fortune. I'm trying to save and I can't save.
But the vinyl collection is looking good, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, but I've said to so many artists, which I've interviewed, one of the things which I put right out there is I try to tell, especially my readers, and I try to tell them, look, stay away from Spotify. Spotify is only good for one thing, and that's cars now.
Yeah,
and I tell them, look, go out there, support the bands, support the artists. Go out there and either purchase a CD, the vinyl, or a bit of merchandise, because that's the only way you guys can survive, really.
Yes, the weird thing is that Spotify, you know, bizarrely, agents and folks like that are looking at people's Spotify playlists, so, you know, their numbers, to decide if they will take them and tour, you know, take them on tour. So if you've got, like, say for example, an agency comes on and they look at your Spotify and they think, right, this person's got 100,000 or 200,000 views. That's what they're taking notice of, which is you know, insane. So what it's forcing people to do is bump up their Spotify appearance, whether they pay people to do that for them, so it's, you know, slightly artificial but it looks good. Is a whole load of nonsense involved with Spotify, which I don't particularly like. You know, I think it's like what you're saying is exactly right. If you want to support someone directly, you know, you get it directly from their website, and you're actually making a difference then.
I didn't know about Spotify. I didn't know about the art, about PR companies and all that.
Well, it's more agencies, like say for example, if, you know, it's more for booking tours. You know, if you went to sort of see an agent and they look at your Spotify numbers and they're not very good, they're going to be like, well, this person's not getting much interaction, we're not going to take them. And you know, and it's just, it keeps going from platform to platform. You know, back in the day it was MySpace, you know, then it was like, well, Facebook numbers are like what these numbers are like, what those numbers are like, and now at the minute it's Spotify.
Wow.
Which is you know, you can force people down that road, but you're not going to make the money from your merch. You know, if you
no, like I say, I only use Spotify for the car, because they haven't got like a CD deck or anything like that. And
they don't do them anymore, do they? It's crazy. There's no CD player in the cars anymore.
So the only way I can listen to the album when I'm driving is through Spotify. But if I could get away with that, I would rather put money into the artist rather than into an organization. Which
it's not only that; it's like the you know, the hours that go into, you know, whether people care. Some people care. I care about this sort of stuff, but the hours that go into making the vinyl, you know, working on the artwork, and, you know, choosing the track running order, and that's all part of the. It's not just writing the song. It's like you know, it's all part of that process. That if you get if people just listen to like single tracks on Spotify, it's out of context of what you've actually released as a piece of art, isn't it? You know, when you put it out, you arranged it, you packaged it. It's all, you know. But like, you know, vinyl's doing well at the moment, though, isn't it? As you know, you keep seeing on like stats that the vinyl sort of outselling CDs and things like that. So that's really cool.
The big thing for me, when especially now compared to when I first started my vinyl and that, I like to collect the colored vinyls. I'm on a big thing with that.
Well, I nearly got mine done in colored, but because I'd recorded at Rockfield and I'd mastered at Abbey Road, so I'd gone for like as best sound quality as I could. When I went to have them manufactured, I was going to get blue vinyl, and the blokes, in fact, two places said to me, if you want the best quality sound, you need to go for straight black 140 vinyl. And because I decided to go for a gatefold, so I thought the visual thing, you know, the cardboard, you know, the package. But I remember then, back when we were younger, if you bought a picture disc especially a Picture Disc. The sound wasn't very good, was it? Do you remember?
No.
If they looked amazing, but they, I think the colored vinyls are better than the Picture Disc, aren't they, sound wise? But
yeah, it's when I put I just love the dirtiness about the vinyl.
Yeah.
It just gives you that feeling, and you're like, this is body. But
then on the other hand, you got sort of like listen to sort of like the old records, haven't you? You know, when people listen to say Blind Willie Johnson on vinyl, it's so crackly, but that's part, that is the character and the charm is in that as well. So it's
definitely, absolutely, definitely. With the album being released in July, was it always a plan for it to come out in July, or is this something which you had to change because of COVID?
Oh, it's out on 6th of August. It's a bit later than that. It's just
all right.
But yeah, because when I recorded it in the February 2020, the plan was to kind of like release it sort of like middle to the back end of that year. But not long after we recorded it, and I was on tour with Willie and the Bandits. We got halfway through that, and lockdown happened. So there was so much investment in the album, which I'd not done before. Everything else I recorded it in my own studio, But this time I'd hired musicians, the best players I get. I hired Rockfield. There was an investment, financial investment, that I thought, if I go and drop that in the middle of a pandemic and put it out, people, you'll get sales, but nowhere near as much as when you were touring. So I thought, right, hold that back. And that's why I'm putting it out kind of like the back end, the later end of this year, because I'll be touring sort of, and especially like beginning of the following year, 2022. Well, all things, unless anything goes pear-shaped, which you easily could do. But that's, I didn't want to hold it too long, and it seems to be the right sort of, it seems to be the right sort of time.
Yeah. With many artists taking to social media and live streaming concerts, is that something which you've thought about doing?
I did a few when it first kicked off. When everything kicked off, and it was about the March, I think. I did a few live streams. There was a guy called Jason Elliott who he used to run the Cone Blues Festival. I'm not sure if they're doing that, and if he's involved with it anymore because he's moved to Spain. But that was one of the first live streams anyone did, and he was super on it. And I did that one. I did one after. And I've done a couple, but it's not something I focused on. I've kind of gone more down the recording stuff to make a product to put on online to sell but when Rivers Meet have done that, and they've got a massive following, I mean, they've done really, really well with it, and so they built up their fan base, which is good for when they go out on the road, what I mean, they'll have a big fan base to go out and play to. So
I interviewed them not so long back, and we were talking about it, and they were saying that their social media just took off when they started doing, I think it up to something like 67,000 or followers. Crazy numbers, crazy. And it's
they've done brilliantly with it. That's like the perfect example of what you can do with it.
Yeah, with a little idea and just putting it out there. It's good. Have you got anything special planned for the album release?
There might be some dates coming in, which I'm waiting on. I can't really sort of talk about what they are, but that's going to be the main thing. Is some run of dates that sort of are really close to that. So hopefully I'll be going out on the road with it. So yeah, fingers crossed. But besides that, there'll be this single, obviously. Then I'll be putting another one out, sort of like in a month or so after that.
Yeah.
And just sort of like split it up over, before the release date.
Finally, have you? Well, you just briefly went over tour plans. Have you made any up and down the UK?
There's a definite one that's in the that's solid in the diary, and that's with, like I said to you before, I was out with Willie and the Bandits when lockdown happened, and they gave me a shout and said, "Do you want to sort of carry on with that?" And so that's in March. Is it February, March next year? We're going out first. It's almost 2 months around the UK. It's like
wow.
A big long tour. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a good one. And like I said, hopefully some more dates are coming in, like a run of dates will be coming in closer to the album release. Fingers crossed.
Any Wales dates?
Yes, there are in both of those. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come and see you live and hear the new songs on your tour. I really can't wait.
Nice one, man.
And good luck with the single release and the album release. And I will be seeing you on the road very soon.
Fantastic. Nice one, man.
All right. And that's it. All right. Take care.
Nice one, man.
All right.
Speak soon.
Yeah. Tom.